Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH The Flame Emperor episode number 174 based on novel. So let's start. Prepare to start, capture the fighting spirit. The next moment, Qin Tian's pupils shrank tightly and said to the people behind him, "Yes, head." The other strong men of the dragon-loving legion heard the words and immediately spoke. Zizi. A man from a legion. The weakest one also has the rank of 8-star Do Di, and the strongest one has the peak of Do Di, so he really looks down on me. At this time, immortal Ming QQ opened her mouth and said. But even so, the immortal Mingkek has no fear at all. Don't look at the fact that the current strength of the undead nymph is only the peak of Do Di, but the undead nymph can be called the undead nymph, naturally it has its secrets. Moreover, even if he took 10,000 steps back and said, even if the immortal Mingqiu was caught by Qin Tian's group, the immortal Mingqiu would still have its own abilities and stand in an invincible position. Immortal Mingqiu, why not die? Undead Mingqiu, give up resistance. You alone can't beat us. Qin Tian said slightly. If you think that you want to catch me with the help of you people, it would be too ridiculous. Undead Mingqiu is indeed a fighting spirit with the strength of fighting immortals, facing as many as 10 strong men, not afraid at all. Head of the regiment. Yimo heard the words, and naturally felt that the immortal sparrow was not easy to mess with, so he said immediately. This undead ghost is certainly a fighting spirit at the level of Do Xian, but now its strength is also suppressed by the peak of Do Di. Let's test the truth first. Qin Tian stared at the undead Ming sparrow, looked up and down, and said. I don't know why, Qin Tianqiu smelled some strange fluctuations from this undead ghost. That fluctuation is somewhat like the fluctuation of fighting skills. However, according to the records, there has never been an exception for a fighting spirit to practice fighting skills. This undead bird is cunning by nature. Just now after the battle between the Solomon Sect master and the Wandu Sect, if you didn't show up, I'm afraid he would take advantage of the fishermen and kill them, so be careful. Qi Haoqing suddenly said at this time. As expected, it is a fighting spirit whose wisdom does not lose to human beings. Qin Tian was not surprised when he heard this. Although the Solomon Sect master has a fairy weapon of the level of the vast sea cover, if he wants to subdue the fighting spirit, I am afraid that he is still a little short. Go. After Qin Tian finished speaking, the 9 strong men around him immediately stepped up. The 9 strong men lined up one by one. Yimo, Shen Ming, Qingmu, Fan Yu, Mu Chen Feng, Yaroshin, Shen Wanxin, Shen Mo. Among the 9 people, the weakest person also has the power of the 8-star fighting emperor. As for a few of them, the strength has reached the level of the 9-star fighting emperor. Therefore, at this time, some people exude pure white vitality, while others on the human body, an extremely dazzling black and of life and death erupted. With the combined force of the 9 people, I am afraid that the real Do Di peak powerhouse can only temporarily avoid its edge. Qin Tian didn't move. After all, the title of Duke Ming was not for nothing. Qin Tian stood blankly in the air, watching the other 9 people who were fighting with the immortal Mingqiu, carefully observing the movements of the immortal Mingqiu. This undead sparrow seems to be much stronger than imagined. The thing that King Shenling gave me, although I can subdue it, but I think if that thing is used, I am afraid that the fighting spirit will be his. So you can't use that thing, you can only outsmart it. Qin Tian thought slowly in his heart. However, the undead ghost seems to be full of ridicule for the 9 people who came besieged by him. In a short while, the undead sparrows poured directly into the molten world and disappeared. At the same time, a dazzling wave reverberated in this molten world. Is the undead ghost bird down? Xuanmo exclaimed immediately. Is there a cave below? Yaroshin was also surprised, but with his own soul power, he didn't find any other space below, and there seemed to be only endless lava below. Not good. Qin Tian suddenly realized something, adding that the wings behind the undead Mingqiu were already ignited when they poured into the molten world, and he burst into a drink. Such fluctuations are probably the fluctuations of some extremely powerful fighting skills. Fast back. After a few breaths, Qin Tian suddenly shouted at the 9 people. His voice was full of urgency, obviously something dangerous was about to happen. The other 9 strong men were still standing in the air at this time, and when they heard Qin Tian's urgent call, they didn't hesitate to disperse directly from the molten world where the undead sparrow fell. Late. Exploding flame sword. But just when Yimorgio was about to leave, a burst of dazzling light suddenly appeared in the molten world, and then a scorching wave with a destructive aura instantly appeared from the molten world. After speaking, he appeared from the molten world. What caught my eye was an incomparably huge, gigantic flaming sword with an aura of scorching heat and destruction. The whole body of Yangjian is wrapped in fiery red power, like a flame elf. Not good. It's a holy fighting skill. Retreat. Yi Mo was the first to bear the brunt, immediately felt a destructive wave from the hot wave, and said directly to the crowd. That's too late. I can't run anymore. Deputy head. Let's fight. At the next moment, Qingmu, Yaroshin, and Xuanmo spoke at the same time. They knew that the power of saint-level fighting skills was no trivial matter, and it was obviously impossible to escape at such a close distance. Damn it. This fighting spirit is actually a beast who has mastered fighting skills, and he is still a saint. Yi Mo couldn't help but scolded. But at the next moment, the tip of the extremely hot sword of destruction is already very close to them. I am afraid they will be able to kill them in the next breath. Battle. Yi Mo made a decisive decision and spoke directly. And with Yi Mo's opening, the other 8 strong men flashed a strange color all over their bodies. Gathering strength. Yi Mo said directly, and then the other 8 strong men flashed a dazzling light and then gathered on Yi Mo's body. In a short period of time, the power of the 8 powerhouses all wilted. At this time, Yi Mo absorbed the power of the other 8 strong men, and the power exploded instantly, breaking through the current realm in a short time, and actually reached the peak of all point. Xuantian's wrathful spirit hand. An angry roar suddenly sounded from Yi Mo's mouth. And with Yi Mo's roar, in front of Yi Mo's body, a palm that touched about Zhongshu appeared faintly. The palm of the body is full of glass, filled with boundless ancient smell, and an equally huge power of destruction emerges. He even showed his holy rank fighting skills. Although Qin Tian was worried about the danger of everyone, he didn't act in a hurry. Just ask, how can someone who can enter the Dragon Addiction Legion be incompetent? Break it for me. Yi Mo shouted, and the Liuli palm immediately attacked the flaming sword of the undead Mingqiu. It seems that these humans also have some strength. Undead Mingqiu glanced at the dazzling fluctuations around Yi Mo, and naturally knew that it was also a fighting skill of the holy class. Although Liuli's palm is extremely small, the power contained in it cannot be underestimated at all. If that's the case, let's see if your holy rank fighting skills are powerful, or yours is even better. After the undead Mingqiu finished speaking, his wings were slightly fanned, and a steady stream of flame power poured into the flames in front of him. In the sword, then the two attacked viciously together. Boom boom boom. The two Hola-level fighting skills compete. That level of power can be described as destroying the sky and destroying the earth. However, no matter how huge the power of the two is, the walls in this molten world still seem to be indestructible. What a terrifying fluctuation. I'm afraid this fluctuation is not something that the 7-star Dodi can send. After Xiuqi and his party left the molten world, they also searched for treasures in the Purple Crystal Palace, and they simply found a lot of treasures. Come. It seems that those guys are bound to win the fighting spirit. The 5 poisons said at the same time. Originally, among the super sects, they all adhered to the rules and did not send strong men, but Solomon, Wandu sect and the Shenling royal family obviously did not take this treaty as the same thing. It's too strong. I'm afraid this fluctuation has the fluctuation of a peak Do-D peak. Xiuqi shook his head. Let's go, we can't interfere here anymore. Let's see if there are any treasures in other places first, and it's not a waste of time. Everyone had a plan in their hearts and left here directly. And Song Yu, Feng Hong and other strong men smelled the terrifying fluctuations that erupted in the molten world, and immediately shook their heads secretly. Except cursing, they couldn't do anything. It seems that Solomon, Wanjuman and Emperor Shenling broke the treaty, and we have to go back and report this matter to the master. Song Yu thought to himself. It's such a strong fluctuation, I'm afraid it's a Hola-level fighting skill. Meng Fei on the side also shook his head secretly. Even if the fighting spirit was attracting people, life was the most important thing. After a while, everyone continued to act. What happened outside the palace? What a strong fluctuation. Deep in the palace, the 4 figures of Xiao Yan slowly appeared. It's just that the 4 people at this time were still in a halo, and obviously they had not reached the depths of the palace. It should be the fighting spirit. That guy has kept his promise for so many years. Yutu sensed the enormous power, and immediately opened his mouth slightly. Why haven't you arrived yet? Mu Yingying said slightly, she didn't know why, but there was an aura of disgust in the depths of the palace. It's almost there, don't worry. Seeing this, Yutu exited. In fact, the complexity of this Purple Crystal Palace is far beyond the imagination of Xiao Yang and his party. If it weren't for the existence of the Jade Rabbit, I am afraid that it would be more difficult for them to enter the depths of the palace from the outside than to go to the sky. Even so, it still requires a lot of money. Time. Boom boom boom. In the molten world, with the terrifying attack of the undead ghost bird and Yi Mo, the overwhelming destructive fluctuations suddenly turned into deadly ripples. And the molten world was shaking violently. Yi Mo's next moment, a mouthful of blood spurted out. This fighting spirit is worthy of being a strong fighting immortal. Yi Mo spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his figure stabilized immediately, but in contrast, the immortal ghost bird was not affected much. This human, by virtue of the strength of the other 8 people, has reached the peak of Do Di in a short period of time. Otherwise, since his strength is not at the peak of Do Di, I'm afraid I can directly kill him with my blow just now. Undead Ming-Qiu thought to himself. Indeed, even if Yi Mo gathered the power of the other 8 people on his body for a short period of time, reaching the level of the pinnacle of Do Di, he would still be injured when dealing with the attack of the undead ghosts. The attack of this undead sparrow is so tyrannical. I've never heard that the fighting spirit can master the fighting skills that we humans cultivate. What the is going on with this guy? After a while, Yi Mo and Qin Tian both thought at the same time. The identities and experiences of the two of them are considered highly respected in the entire dragon-loving army. Even the two of them are quite strange about the undead ghost bird's fighting skills. Don't think about it. In this world, there is no rule that only you humans can practice fighting skills. Undead Ming-Qiu seemed to see the concerns of the two powerhouses, and immediately spoke. It's just that the undead Ming-Qiu is thinking at this time, how to successfully use the people of this dragon-loving army to leave here. The people of this dragon-loving legion are not as foolish as the Solomon Sect master just now, especially Qin Tian and Yi Mo. Looks like it's worth a lot of money, otherwise these guys won't believe it. After the undead Ming-Qiu finished speaking, he had a plan in his heart. The undead Ming-Qiu did have some agreements with Fairy Jiaoyue, so it could not leave the ruins for a long time, but when the agreement was almost fulfilled, it found that it could not be separated from the ruins by virtue of its strength. The ban is too big, and that ban is clearly aimed at it. Only then did he have to resort to the hands of human beings who coveted the fighting spirit, and only then did he have the possibility of going out. Captain, what should we do now? Yi Mo couldn't help asking Qin Tian. Apparently the current situation had exceeded their original expectations. I have my own way. Qin Tian smiled when he heard the words, and motioned for Yi Mo and the others to come back. Seeing this, Yi Mo and the others did not hesitate, and swept back to Qin Tian. Undead Ming-Qiu, I know your strength is very strong, but you should also believe that if it wasn't for the complete preservation of your strength, I'm afraid I would have used some other strengths, and then you won't be able to eat and walk around. So, come with me. Qin Tian opened his mouth slightly, but this time he didn't mean to threaten, his tone was extremely dull. Why should I go with you? You have invaded the ruins of Fairy Moon, and as a guardian, I naturally want to keep you all here. Suffer to death. Immortal Ming-Qiu said with disdain for Qin Tian's rhetoric. As long as you follow us, we won't leave Fairy Moon's inheritance, how about that? Qin Tian said. Beautiful thought. Immortal Ming-Qiu directly refused. Hihi, with the strength of the few of us, I'm afraid you and the inheritance poison will not be spared. But our main purpose is you. As long as you follow us, we will naturally not do anything to inheritance. And on the one hand, you are free from the dark days here, and on the other hand, you are also protecting the inheritance of the Fairy Moon, so why not do it? Qin Tian said with a smile. That's right. But instead of being beaten to death by you, I still want to kill everyone to death. After the undead Ming-Qiu finished speaking, a burst of dazzling fluctuations suddenly appeared in the wings behind him, and then he wanted to kill everyone in front of him in an instant. You're very strong, but that's it for now. At the next moment, Qin Tian smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth, and in the next breath, the mouth sparrow exploded dozens of times, turning into a huge mouth in the sky, directly facing the undead ghost bird swallowed it away. Where did the immortal Ming-Qiu expect that Qin Tian would come out like this, and he was caught by surprise. But when the immortal Ming-Qiu was about to fight back, it was directly swallowed by Qin Tianhe. Withdraw. As Qin Tian directly swallowed the undead Ming sparrow, Qin Tian said something to the crowd, and immediately left the ruins. Qin Tian, this old bastard, is as greedy as King Shenling said. After Qi Haoqing finished speaking, he left here strangely. Although the fighting spirit is precious, it is not his main purpose, and the fighting spirit is useless to the aliens. Qi Haoqing walked directly out of the molten world, and then disappeared from a certain passage in an instant, and the place where he went was also deep in the palace where Xiao Yang and his party went. Several months have passed since the ruins opened. Wanhuage headquarters. Ever since he was abducted by Fen Tian, the pavilion master of Wanhua Pavilion is in a good mood for some reason, and his attitude towards Fenxiang Pavilion has also undergone a series of changes. Among them, the one who felt the deepest was Hua Yun, the deputy master of Wanhua Pavilion. Hua Yun has followed the pavilion master for many years, and she is very clear about the temperament of the pavilion owner. In this case, I am afraid that the misunderstanding that has been sealed for thousands of years has been resolved. Pavilion master, are you in such a good mood? Hua Yun sat next to the pavilion master, got up slightly and asked to make tea. Hua Yun, maybe I will trouble you with the affairs of the cabinet in the future. I've been worrying about this sect for so many years. Originally, the purpose of this sect was to take in those women who were betrayed by men, but now I myself. Alas. The pavilion master of Wanhua Pavilion sighed after finishing speaking. The rules of Wanhua Pavilion were set by herself, and it was herself who broke the rules. Pavilion master, you're leaving? Hua Yun seemed to have expected it long ago, and then asked tentatively. Maybe. For so many years, I always thought that Fenxian was sorry for me, but in the end, it was me who was sorry. We've already thought about it. After this sect competition is over, we will take the blame and resign, and the three of them will wander the world together. The pavilion master of Wanhua Pavilion said slightly expectantly. Hua Yun sighed slightly when he heard the words, but he was also quite happy that the pavilion master solved the misunderstanding. I will take care of the sect and wait for the pavilion master when he needs it. Hua Yun thought for a while and said, Xiao Yun, thank you. After Wanhua Pavilion finished speaking, he suddenly said to Hua Yun, Miss really likes to joke. Hua Yun also smiled slightly, and then the two were chatting and laughing. At the same time, the Poison Sect also staged the same scene. The forbidden area of the Poison Sect, the place where the sect master of the Poison Sect lives. Absurd. Bingxin, do you know what you are talking about now? A middle-aged woman was furious and stared directly at Bingxin, her resentful eyes wishing to eat Bingxin. Juling, this is an order. Bingxin Dai frowned and said. Bingxin, the young woman named Juling, is now the deputy suzerain of the Poison Sect, and her strength has reached the peak of Dodi. I am afraid that in a few days, breaking through Dodi will not be a problem. I disagree. That old Fen Tian. Juling refused directly, and then said in a resentful tone. The life of the sect master of the Poison Sect was indeed bestowed by Fen Tian, but since Fen Tian has married the sect master of the Poison Sect, he is a righteous husband and wife, and after so many years, Fen Tian had never seen Bingxin, so Juling looked down on Fen Tian very much. Sect master, stop talking. I don't agree with this matter, and the elders of the sect will definitely not agree. Juling continued. I've made up my mind. Bingxin said rather plainly. Have you decided to go? Sect master, is Fenxian still a man? It doesn't matter if it's true or false, since we are married to you, we are a legitimate husband and wife, but look at Fen Tian, does he look like a husband? Juling's anger rose, and the more he talked, the more angry he became. He was also forced to be helpless at the beginning. He married me to save me, Juling, don't make trouble. Every time Juling said that he was married, Bingxin felt warm, even if she knew it was fake. This trash. If he dares to appear, I must beat him to death. I still want 2 daughters to serve a husband together. I want to be beautiful. At the end of the sentence, Juling couldn't help cursing after seeing Bingxin's obsession. Juling, this sect is not even afraid of death, let alone cares about other people's gossip. Bingxin heard the words and immediately became angry. Hey! Juling heard the words and knew that the sect master couldn't be persuaded anymore, so he could only withdraw slightly, but Juling would not give up like this. Fenxian, in this lifetime, I'll be with you. Since my life is yours, I will always follow you. Just as we agreed, after this sect competition is over, let's go to the end of the world. I'm still the little maid who took care of you in the first place, but Hua Yun, I don't care. Bingxin finished speaking and slowly closed her eyes. On the far side, in the Fenxiang Pavilion, Fen Tian also shook his head secretly. He knew that the palms and backs of the hands were full of flesh, no matter which side was hurt, it would be bad. With the affairs of these 3 super sects, the ruins have also entered the final stage. At this time, the interior of Guanghan Island is also in full swing to the last moment. Many disciples have gained a lot of benefits from the ruins, but they are not anxious about Fairy Moon's inheritance and fighting spirit. At this time, in the deepest part of the Purple Crystal Palace on Guanghan Island, Yutu took Xiao Yang and the three, and finally crossed the palace and came to the most core place. Arrived. Xiao Yang noticed that they had stopped moving, and immediately spoke. Well, here we are. But don't get too happy too soon. Although you have the inheritance rune of the fairy moon, if you don't solve that thing, we will definitely not hand over the inheritance to you. Yutu said casually, but when he said that thing, the voice there's a rare touch of seriousness in it. No problem, let's go. You heard the words, hesitated for a while, just wanted to say something, but was patted on the shoulder by Xiao Yang and said, Go. Yutu said slightly when the three of them agreed. As soon as the voice of Yutu fell, the halo slowly disappeared, and Xiao Yang and his party also came to an empty room. Here you come. After a while, a figure that Ling Xiaoyan was very familiar with appeared directly. The two were impressively the human ginseng transformed by the demon whale and the ginseng that Xiao Yang met at the beginning. As soon as he entered the palace, Xiao Yang found that the ginseng was gone, but due to the urgency of time, Xiao Yang didn't have time to look for it. Hey, that's none of my business. I can really give you a fighting spirit, and even if you can't absorb it, I can temporarily seal it in your body. But that fellow fighting spirit has great ambitions, so it's not my fault. Tian Jian hurriedly explained Xiao Yang's cold expression on your face. In the end, I gave this guy free labor. Damn. Xiao Yang couldn't help but scolded a few words. Here it is. Yutu said indifferently to the demon whale. The demon whale agreed softly, and then looked at Xiao Yang. I didn't expect you to actually enter this place successfully, said the demon whale. Devil whale, I didn't expect us to meet again. Seeing this, he smiled slightly. I can't see it, the treasure you got is quite a lot. The demon whale said with a smile. He naturally sensed some extremely obscure things on Xiao Yang's body. Okay, let's get down to business. After a short while, following Xiao Yang's chat with the demon whale, Yutu suddenly said. Do you know why we brought you here? The demon whale said suddenly. It should be as Tianxian said, about the two exalted foreigners, right? Xiao Yang guessed slightly. You are quite smart. Yutu nodded slightly when he heard this. However, Mu Yingying and Yu, who were on the side, had a dignified feeling in their hearts. Xiao Yang had said before that this venerable extraterritorial evil clan was comparable to the powerhouse of the peak human Do Emperor, and the three of them were mostly 6-star Do Emperors, so they might not be of much use. Although the two of us have holy flames, our strength is only 6-star Do D. Obviously, dealing with the evil race outside the territory is tantamount to sending them to death, right? Xiao Yang saw that these people were sure, and immediately asked. Since it is necessary to deal with foreign evil races, then it must be a good thing from these people, otherwise it will not be done in vain. The two venerable alien races, that level of strength is. I know what your kid is up to. But I have to tell you. There is no other benefit, it is to solve the two foreign evil clan. We can let this guy get the inheritance of Fairy Moon. As for you, to put it bluntly, it's just this woman's thug. The demon whale said with a smile. I don't do this business. Seeing the demon whale say so, Xiao Yang immediately quit. The inheritance of the Fairy Moon, only those who are planted with the inheritance rune can touch, otherwise let alone you, even me, touch it and die. Yutu said solemnly. Isn't this a scam? Xiao Yang heard the words, and his head was covered with black lines. How many people are you pitting? The demon whale said with a smile. Xiao Yang said something a little embarrassed after hearing this. We don't know too much about the specific situation of the two extraterritorial evil races, but one thing is certain. The two of you will not be allowed to directly confront the foreign evil race. Just use the power of the holy flame of the two of you. The demon whale said. None of you control the fire attribute, are you going to deal with it? Xiao Yang asked. Naturally it's not us, but don't worry, there must be someone. After the demon whale finished speaking, he cast his eyes on the stone wall beside him. As the demon whale's gaze turned away, Xiao Yang and the others noticed the unusualness of this stone wall. Wang buzzing. The yin wind blew from somewhere, causing an extremely mournful breath to emerge continuously, as if countless people were mourning, which was very strange. On the stone wall, there are runes exuding mysterious power everywhere. Above those runes, there are extremely powerful prohibitions and ancient breaths, and they wrap the entire stone wall in front of them. But all the runes show an inexplicable power, as if China Unicom has become a huge formation. What a powerful force. As a battle formation master, Xiao Yang naturally felt how powerful these formations condensed by special runes were in front of him. According to Xiao Yang's guess, I am afraid that the powerhouses at the peak of Dodi can be easily suppressed. How strong are the two exalted foreigners? Xiao Yang said slightly as the voices of others fell. Open the door, and solve this confidant's trouble as soon as possible. After speaking, the demon whale and the jade rabbit exuded a silver crescent rune at the same time, and then a huge force attacked the stone wall, apparently preparing to open the passage to enter in. And with the attack of the two, there was a trace of a slight opening somewhere on the stone wall. At this time, inside the stone wall, this is the deepest part of the palace, and it is also the place to suppress the two extraterritorial evil races and store the inheritance of the fairy moon. Is anyone here? Inside the stone wall is a rather desolate space. There is nothing in the space except a stone statue and a cage. Feeling the gentle vibration from outside the stone wall, the woman who was bound in the cage opened her lips slightly and said. And with the woman's mouth, there was actually some incomparable evil power emerging from the body. Go back. The girl was very weak a moment ago, but when she saw the evil power the next moment, she let out a coquettish cry. As soon as the voice fell, the pure power directly extinguished the evil power. At the same time, the two heart-like black things behind the girl were beating, but they exuded a monstrous evil force. Bang bang bang. The two hearts were beating faster and faster, and it was obvious that something was about to make them afraid. Strange, the undead Mingqiu should use this relic to leave. After all, he also has his own affairs to deal with. But who is it outside, who can make these two aliens so restless? And I seem to feel a familiar aura, no. Qian Ying said slightly, but the two hearts behind her were beating strangely. Zhen. Qian Ying's palm quickly condensed some mysterious power, and then in the empty hall, a silver force rushed away from the cage, and in a short moment, the restless heart returned to calm. But the girl said, these two guys, I hope not to wake up at this time, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. After speaking, her expression was extremely serious. And as the two hearts behind the girl quieted down, the countless mysterious runes scattered throughout the hall also dimmed. No matter how serious the girl was, when she saw the stone statue in front of her eyes, it was like a pool of tenderness and water, which made people feel like a dream. What a powerful seal. On the stone wall under the gate of the main hall, with the joint efforts of Jade Rabbit and the demon whale, a space large enough for everyone to enter gradually appeared. Come in, Yutu said slightly, and then his face became solemn. Obviously, opening the stone wall of the seal was not a small burden for the two of them. Let's go. Xiao Yang did not hesitate between the three, he got up and burst into the room, and Tianxian followed suit. The next moment, both the Jade Rabbit and the demon whale looked at each other, and then stopped. The two of them had just closed their hands, but the sealing mouth that was enough to accommodate people was like a mouth, and closed instantly, but fortunately, the two of them swept in directly at the last closed moment. Crash. As soon as everyone entered the hall, the crowd was suddenly overwhelmed by the enormous pressure. Fortunately, the Jade Rabbit exuded a gentle power in time, and the pressure was greatly reduced. Brother Xiao Mu. It's actually you. You finally came to see me. I'm so happy, I knew you wouldn't leave me alone. Just when Xiao Yang was about to take a look around, an extremely sweet voice instantly echoed in the hall, and Xiao Yang followed the voice. Impressively, he saw a purple cage in which a beautiful figure was standing on the edge of the purple cage with his hands dead. His eyes were quite soft, staring at himself. Hey, this girl. Yutu and the demon whale heard the words, and a trace of sympathy flashed in their eyes. If it wasn't for her existence, I'm afraid that the two evil races from outside the territory would have already escaped, and it would have been a bloodbath at that time. Gudong. The next moment, Xiao Yang's eyes fell into deep thought when he saw Qian Ying's pupils in the cage, and at the same time, a very familiar scene appeared in Xiao Yang's mind. What came into Xiao Yang's mind was the scene of this handsome figure and a man snuggling in front of him. However, on the man, Xiao Yang vaguely felt that his blood was the same. It feels like that. It is the power of the blood of the same family. Xiao Yang, are you all right? Seeing this, Mu Yingying was about to stop Xiao Yang, but Yutu reached out her hand and stopped her. Don't worry, he is safe now, he just remembered something. Yutu said. After Yutu spoke, Yueru and Mu Yingying became quiet. After a few breaths, Xiao Yang regained his composure, but an unbelievable look appeared on his cheeks. Because when he just saw the shadow in the cage, Xiao Yang suddenly remembered something. In my memory, the man who cuddled with the woman looked exactly the same as me. If it wasn't for the conspicuous scar between the man's eyebrows, it would be really hard to tell the difference. I'm sorry, although I'm very similar to him, but I'm not him. Although Xiao Yang knew that saying this would inevitably cause some blow to the woman in front of him, he still said, "You and him. It's really similar. Whether it's strength or looks." Chen Ying's previous joy was swept away, and her eyes returned to emptiness. "Although I don't know who he is, but I think he must still be waiting for you." Xiao Yang glanced at the stone statue in front of him, and was shocked to find that he was exactly the same as the man he had just seen, even the Ihua Hungu behind him. "The feet are the same. You. Also from the Xiao clan?" After a while, Chen Ying in the cage suddenly said to Xiao Yang. "Yes." Xiao Yang was immediately overjoyed when he heard the words. He just felt the aura of blood from this man and wanted to ask the woman about the Xiao family. "And you also seem to have a familiar aura." After Chen Ying finished speaking, her slender fingers moved slightly, and then Xiao Yang only felt that the source of holy flame in his body seemed to emerge uncontrollably. "It really is Fire Heart Chen Yang." Seeing this, Chen Ying was immediately overjoyed. "Senior knows this thing?" Xiao Yang asked in surprise. "Since this woman can mobilize your Huaxin Tianyang in her body out of thin air, I am afraid that this woman has something to do with Huaxin Tianyang." "I cannot." "But he can. And this holy flame was originally his thing." Chen Ying stared at the flame in front of her softly, and then looked at the stone statue beside her. "Senior Xiao Mu?" Xiao Yang nodded immediately when he heard the words, because from the time he was in the desert mountain range, Xiao Yang knew that the previous owner of Huaxin Tianyang was Xiao Mu. Although I don't know why Xiao Mu is storing the holy flame, Xiao Yang seems to feel that Xiao Mu is not dead. This holy flame is actually Xiao Muliu's backhand. First, it's for the foreign evil clan in the Fairy Moon Ruins, and second, it's also for your Xiao clan's affairs. After all, what happened back then was too quiet, and all the people of the Xiao family disappeared overnight. Chen Ying said suddenly. "For our Xiao clan? It all disappeared overnight?" Xiao Yang suddenly became puzzled when he heard this. If it was to suppress the foreign evil clan that was also in the ruins of the Fairy Moon in Shentian Sansan, Xiao Yang would inevitably admire Xiao Mu's prophet of uncertainty, but if it was for the Xiao clan, then the secret inside was enormous. Huaxin Tianyang is far stronger than you think, and inside, I can feel that there is something that Xiao Mu put there. Chen Ying said. "Is there something else in the holy flame? Why didn't I feel it?" Xiao Yang was immediately puzzled when he heard this. Huaxin Tianyang Xiao Yang has been thoroughly inspected, and there is no other power or things. Xiao Mu Doxian's strength, there is something hidden that you, a little Do Di, can't find. However, your strength will reach the 9-star Do Di in the future, and you will be able to know what Xiao Mu has put in by urging you to use that special technique. I can feel that that thing is of great help to you in finding the Xiao family. Chen Ying said slightly. 9-star Do Di? Xiao Yang heard the words and secretly wrote down such a huge amount of information in his heart. After all, many people have said before that if you want to use the true power of Shenyang, I am afraid that Xiao Yang's strength must at least reach the level of the 9-star Do Di, so for what Chen Ying said at this time, Xiao Yang naturally does not have any a hint of doubt. This little girl also has a holy flame on her body. In this case, 2 holy flames will have a chance to deal with these 2 guys. Chen Ying stared at Mu Yingying and said. Mu Yingying was stared at by Chen Ying like this, and she immediately felt uncomfortable and did not dare to look directly at Chen Ying. However, this little girl's holy flame is a bit strange, and it actually forcibly seals the spirit of holy flame. Chen Ying said to herself. Okay, let's get down to business. My name is Kang Qi, and I am the only female disciple under the constellation Bright Moon Andromeda. The strength is 1 star to fight immortals. As for these 2 things behind me, you should know what they are, right? Chen Ying said to Mu Yingying and Xiao Yang in the next moment. However, when talking about the 2 things behind him, his voice became heavy. Obviously, even with the strength of Kang Qi's 1-star fighting immortal level, it was quite difficult. Are you 2 exalted foreigners? Xiao Yang couldn't help saying. That's right. Kang Qi said with a smile when he heard the words. He didn't expect that this guy Xiao Yang would not show any fear in the face of the 2 venerable foreigners. The task of the 2 of you today is to assist me. To expel this alien race together. After Chen Ying finished speaking, her voice suddenly became solemn, and Mu Yingying and Xiao Yang stepped forward at the same time and came to the purple cage. This video will end here.